It's Thursday. It's Thursday.
And what a Thursday it is.
Thursday's back. She's referring to, she's excited that Kamala, I'm going to say Janiqua Harris, Molly whopped and mopped the floor with y'all favorite orange grandpa. Anyway, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today.
Yes, it does.
Welcome.
Because we're talking about expectations.
Okay.
And it wasn't my expectation that she was going to.
Anyone with half a brain and half a mind, yes. So, yay for us. Anyway, let's get into today's topic. Are you and your partner having more and more disagreements? We're not trying to be Debbie Downers. We're just trying to give you some things that might be going on with your life, okay? Are you and the young people in your life, the littles, whether they're your kids, your nieces, your nephews, whatever.
Or the bigs.
Or the bigs. Or the children in your life, y'all just you're not getting through. You keep missing each other. School's back in session, so we know that they are driving y'all crazy and wilding. Hold on, keep the faith. It'll be winter break before you know it. Does the thought of even trying to express yourself to the people in your life that you feel like know you, love you, trust you, but you just feel like they're not gonna get what you're trying to say the way you're trying to say it, and just the thought of having to do that exhausts you like every single day? If you answered yes to any of these questions at all, or any of the other questions that you might have thought about based on what I just said
from our prompt,
then you should stick around, okay? Because this episode is for you.
Hi, I'm Pam Williams, a mother.
And I'm Jessica E. Williams, a daughter. And this is a mother and a daughter truthful chat, where we discuss our 35-year multi-layered relationship.
We've been through so many ups and downs. Not only are we family, but we're business partners in the high-stress world of event planning and production for short films.
We've also shared the same therapist for over 10 years. What some people call codependence, we call collaboration.
So join us as we share stories from our lives,
have candid conversations with other mother-daughter duos,
and shed light on the roller coaster ride of being a woman while raising a woman.
God willing, our internet is still cooperating. You know how it is. All right,
y'all. We had an earthquake.
Cups up. We did have earthquake. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking iced tea.
I'm drinking iced tea too.
Yeah, I'm drinking iced tea.
We had some. I had the pleasure and privilege of first ADing my friend's film this weekend, and we was using lemonade and iced tea for liquors, and we had some left over, and I brought some home, so that's what we're drinking.
Well, we told the people the secret.
The fruits of our labor. We're just telling Hollywood secrets. Anyway, welcome to Truthful Chats. If this is your first time joining us, welcome to Truthful Chats. If yo 80s something, what are we on? 89?
89.
If you've been here for all the times, we appreciate you taking time out of your life to come kick it with us. But this is Truthful Chats, our weekly podcast show designed to get us to the ongoing practice of creating generational wellness. If you like, oh my God, create generational wellness sounds so deep. That's amazing. Well, I haven't ever heard this term before because we made it up. Therefore, if you hear anybody using create generational wellness and has nothing to do with Pam and Jess, Truthful Chats, it's not associated with nothing. You don't even see no peach logos, nothing.
And melanated skin.
Nuck if you buck. Okay. All right. That's all we're asking. You don't have to go to jail for it, but you just,
drop it down.
Assert yourself.
As the old people used to say.
Assert yourself. We call that snitching now, but whatever. Anyway, at Create Generational Wellness, we have a theme of the month. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then Truthful Chats is where we unpack the theme in this weekly series that we have. Okay. So the theme for September, because it is September.
Do you remember?
2 more months until that thing. Pause. RIP to the legend of several generations, James Earl Jones. Okay. And RIP to the late great, also of several generations, Frankie Beverly, the lead singer of Amazing Frankie Beverly. We're sad to have lost these Black men, but to get to 93 and 77 coming up when they came up is really a miracle and a blessing. And they gave us a great, great catalog to continue to explore, to learn, to give to other generations as we create generational wellness around their art, their life, their legacy, and the message that they gave to the world. So just want to say that. And what I expect y'all to be doing, by the way, is just expectation. You were going to say?
I was going to say, when you get in your 70s, the people dying in the 77s and stuff like that, it makes you a little nervous. Makes you a little like, wait. James Earl Jones, 90, that you okay with that? You got okay.
But we don't know.
More years,
he may have had health challenges. He may have something going on. We got
last time we saw him, he did look a little.
The autopsy. He was good when I saw him. Like, he was cool. When we saw him in, I can't remember the year, but it was Babyface and it was Mason Frankie Beverly all together, and it was great. I did fall asleep during part of the show, not because I was bored, just that music is so soothing and the song be going on so long that I was just in a comfortable, restful
Was
place.
that when we were at Universal?
Yeah, it was that when we were at the Gibson Amphitheater, which
I don't remember Babyface.
Do they even have concerts there? Maybe I went with my friends. I don't know. We used to live.
Yes, you and Corinne went to that.
Me and Corinne went to many concerts. Shout out to Cocoa Puffs at the Gibson Amphitheater.
Because when we went, the OJs were there. We went to
that was years later. That was years later. Yeah, but I feel like y'all were there because you was like, you got to see Mason Frankie Beverly. Anyway, RIP to the legends. Just want to do that. Anyway, back to our program. Sure. The theme for September's expectation in today's chat, if you clicked, is expectation. Your emotional intelligence creates better relationships. Okay, very simple. Entitled,
very straightforward.
Not so much in practice, but we're going to talk about it. So last week we were talking about expectations, because that's the new word. Okay. And our focus last week was really understanding the difference between expectations and assumptions. So in a nutshell, do you want to do the recap or you want me to do the recap?
You're doing well. Okay.
Assumptions are things that you really don't have no proof of evidence for, but you just feel like that's what's going to happen next. I just, based on how my brain is putting together things, and we talked about heuristics, which are the parts of our brain that be trying to outthink us and put the scenarios together so that we don't get killed, et cetera, et cetera. You know, the brain is all about your survival. I just want to continue to reiterate that so you don't give it more credit than it deserves. Okay. We love the brain, but it really has one function, which is to keep you alive every day, get you out of the bed and back in the bed. Okay. As I've said.
Safely.
Okay.
So you do the heuristics are the mental shortcuts, like you were saying.
Yes. The mental shortcuts that your brain does, that usually are probably where assumptions come from, because it's trying to calculate real fast. Right. Whereas your expectations are things that are usually based on your life experience, things that have actually happened in real time to you, that you're using to deduce information about, right? And get your expectations from. That being said, we also said the caveat is sometimes we've had traumatic experiences. Therefore, our expectations might be a little over the top, or childhood experiences, good or bad, right? All of that really shapes our expectations. So again, assumptions are based on what you think is going to happen. That
no basis, no proof,
no reality, no proof, no
nothing. You just assume.
That's just how I feel today. And then your expectations are rooted in, I've had experience in this or with this or something similar to this, and my brain is making connections based on that. Okay, so we talked about the heuristics, the mental shortcuts that we have that affect the way that we see things, process information, react to things based on our previous learned experiences, and again, informs the way that we think going forward. So these are all things that feed into us either having assumptions, which we talked about why that's bad, right? And we'll talk about it in relation to relationships today. We talked about it a little bit more about specifically about you dealing with yourself. Now we're talking about you dealing with other people. Okay. So we're talking about managing your expectations in your relationships. And we always say you start with yourself. Okay. Do the work on yourself. And then true change starts within, and then it trickles and flows out to the people. Okay. So in relationships, assumptions versus expectations. That was about to be expectations. I'm here for expectations. In relationships, okay, you have assumptions versus expectations. And they quite naturally, right, can lead to all various forms of pitfalls that can harm your mental mind and the way you think about things, and thusly how you interact with other people. Okay,
how you connect with people.
So starting with misunderstandings, which I think is probably everyone's top source of contention in their relationship. It's just misunderstandings. Humans, contrary to popular belief, as long as we've been around each other, we still are anomalies. Rubik's cubes and puzzles. Okay, you could know somebody for 25 years, and then
or 37.
You think you know, right? You think you know them in one way, and then all of a sudden they change up, which they should be doing because evolution is a part of the human experience of the process. Some of your core values could change, but some things, your favorite color might have changed. Your dress size absolutely has changed for the better or for the worse, but it can always
which might affect why your dress
change
color,
back.
some favorite dress color change.
There's all kinds of things, okay? But misunderstandings are a thing, and again, this gets everybody. So assumptions really create like a petri dish, if you will, for the science.
I like that.
A breeding ground, if you will.
Yeah.
For misunderstandings, okay? Because like we said, the heuristics are busy trying to keep you alive. So this is usually where our assumptions come from, because all those things firing in our brain are helping us to interpret situations that may or may not be correct, but it's doing its thing. It's like a supercomputer, okay? Yep. And again, as I always ask around this time, have you ever questioned the nature of your reality? Because you should sometimes. But based on our unique viewpoints, experiences, et cetera, the way we are coloring our thoughts and our feelings, you can have really vast, sometimes extreme, and very different perceptions of the same event. Okay, that's why, this is why telephone was a successful game. I know that just popped to my spirit, but that's why it was a successful game, where everybody was literally experiencing the same event, more or less. You trying to get this one word from the top of the telephone line to the end of the telephone line, but based on I don't know, the way people pronounce or mispronounce words, the level of
way people
hear things, the way people hear things, big ears, small ears, I don't know, the way your brain synapses is firing the things. By the time you got to the end of the line, that could be gobbledygook mickety mush. And you'd be like, the word was cat. Like, why do we get to something off the wall? So this happens all the time in relationships, right? So like, for example, if your partner says they're going to be working late based on said past experiences, right? That could lead you to assume the worst.
And not the partner's past experience.
Your past
experience.
With a past partner that's
with a past partner that is not even this person.
Or I don't know, some of y'all like to spin the block. So it might be with the same person and they be trying to tell you they changed and then you be feeling some type of way.
Block, but okay.
It doesn't matter. Some of y'all, if you don't,
I get the concept, but
sometimes y'all
like the concept. But
so it could be a different person, or it could be the same person, or you keep attracting the same person, which we keep saying we're gonna talk about. If y'all haven't seen Halle Bailey's "Love You Because I Love You" video, that is what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm not gonna spoil it, not gonna ruin it. Shout out to her, great song, great record. Shout out to her, DDG and Halo. But anyway, if you haven't seen that, nor seen the video, nor heard the song, this is what we're talking about. So let's say you have a partner that works late. Based on your previous past experience, you may have a infidelity, or your partner was just not around really. They just worked too much and you felt neglected. You needed to put the Gabby Wilson, that's her, focus on for that person. But anyway, it can start to trigger you in a bunch of ways. And this person could never have give you any reason to doubt their loyalty, fidelity. They just might work a lot. Like they just really might have a demanding job, but you out here assuming the worst because of something that's happened in your past, right?
And the important part about that is they have no idea that you feel that way. Because you haven't talked about it, which we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Sending text messages to the group chat, talking about this is not back yet. What's going on? Like they
hyping you up.
Like, girl, well, do you want us to locate his phone? Like, do you want us to track his mileage? Like, all that Tyler Perry type, Tasha Smith stuff that they be having y'all do in the movies. That some of y'all do in real life. That's real. So anyway, when you have misunderstandings, that leads to conflict.
Step 2,
okay, which
will be conflict.
So if you have these assumptions that may or may not be rooted in reality, okay, plus you are not communicating your said expectation or preconceived assumption, right?
Yeah.
This is at some point going to escalate to a full-blown conflict because you're going to blow up at some point, or say the wrong thing, or as a person who stuffs emotions, and my therapist really challenged me on that this week. If you stuff it, he did, but it was time.
It was time.
If you stuff emotions, it will come out in another way. So don't think that this is one of those things. You know how when you was little and you had them balloon animals and you would like squeeze the middle of the little poodle or whatever, and then the booty got large, and then you would do it somewhere else and the nose got large. That's what that's like. Okay, when you be stuffing emotion, you could squeeze it and clamp it in one area, but that thing gonna blow up your weight in the other. Okay, and then you might pop the balloon, and who wants that? So a lot of us, when we enter said relationships, and this is not just romantic relationships, your mama, your father, your cousin, your friend, even your pets, you have expectations of your pets, right? You have all these preconceived notions, ideas, usually based on previous experiences, or just maybe some things you haven't processed, or just that's what you want. Okay,
that's how you grew up. Whatever. Previous
notions about your roles, your responsibilities, the plans, literally like all of these compound into how we get our expectations. And we talked about sort of that like foundational level last week if you missed it. And then if these expectations do not align, or the other person is not compliant, or they just don't want to do it, or they keep missing the mark, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be, to quote Chloe Bailey, trouble in paradise. Amen.
They don't understand.
So we're here to sort of help with those things. If we're preaching to the choir, stepping on your toes, just it's gonna be all right.
Say out your amen.
Out your amen. Don't look at the person sitting next to you or across from you as you're watching this. Just look straight ahead, just like at church. Okay, so another thing to think about is that oftentimes we are putting pressure on the relationships that are closest to us. This is definitely gonna step on some toes. Just clutch your pearls, grab a friend. Okay. A lot of times we are putting pressure on our closest relationships, the people that's closest to us, to make us feel seen and heard in ways that we don't experience anywhere else. Okay. This is how you start to get them toxic relationships where you just like them against the world because they daddy didn't ever give them no attention, but now he, she, they, whoever is giving them attention. Nobody understands them but them, the other person. Like this, how it starts to get wrapped up. Even in
weird,
what's a healthy relationship, this happens all the time. So I hear, I don't know from personal experience, but with couples when they have a kid, right? It's like it was just them, now the kid's there. Usually women are all invested in the kid because they carrying the kid. The man just like, I'm just here. Or whoever's carrying the child. I don't want to be, I just said that. But whoever's carrying the child in your same relationship, right?
That's not
whoever has the physical, what I'm trying to say is one person has the physical bond with the kid. So the other person is not necessarily all wrapped up in that. But then the kid comes in that physical bond. Now the baby is out of that person, but there's still that connection. And the other person might get pushed to the side, right? It's all about the kid now and the relationship suffers. So these are like, and of course that makes sense, right? You don't want the kid to not feel seen, loved, heard, and validated, but now you just threw this other person to the side because we shared a body for 10 bucks. You know what I mean? So, and in a lot of other ways, right? It's like, this is how sometimes people be getting in affairs and stuff at work, right? It's like my spouse is not paying me attention in the ways that I want them to pay attention, or I expect them to know these things about me, but I haven't said these things about me, but I expect them to know these things about me, but they don't. But this person is paying me attention or saying I'm cute or this, that, and the third. And now you done found yourself off on a rabbit trail somewhere. Okay.
Another way that can happen is if you're not valued at work. Let's say you are valued at work. I mean, you work really hard. You think you're doing a good job. You're holding it down. You're the office manager. Everybody comes to you for everything, this, that, and the other. Nobody ever gives you any credit, right? By the time you get ready to go home in the evening, and then now, not to be sexist, but let's say you got to go home. You got to fix dinner.
If those are your expected gender roles. But
yeah, those are your...
Or whoever.
Whoever's
supposed to do that.
Whoever now has to come home and pick up some more responsibility at work. Now you're already frustrated because you don't feel like you were appropriately celebrated and validated at work. So now you come in the house and the people are doing the same thing. And now these people get the brunt of what you couldn't say at work because you're trying to keep your paycheck. So
that compounds.
Again, That stacks.
That's also stuffing.
Yep.
Emotional stuff.
Leads to heightened stress and uncertainty. And now you got some misunderstandings. You got some conflicts going in the house that don't have anything to do necessarily with the relationship in the house. It's just there has not been a conversation about the expectations at work that are not being met, and then the expectations at home that are compounding those feelings.
And not having the courage to be honest and transparent and say,
Yeah.
I'm feeling not validated in any space that I exist in, which any person would feel some type of way about. But if you're not expressing those things because you feel like it doesn't matter, nobody's going to care or whatever, then that is going to be a level of frustration, right? So I think the main thing is, I think Shan Boudreaux was just talking about this. That's Shan. Shout out to the Lovers and Friends podcast. Love them. But she was just talking about in a video recently. There's a TED Talk that I have yet to watch, and I don't know who it's by. But pretty much they were saying that a lot of times romantic relationships are currently failing in a westernized context because we are so siloed as families now, instead of living in bigger communities or
like with grandparents and
larger communities,
and things,
so that the validation or the feeling seen or heard, like that, we weren't supposed to be dependent on that from just one person.
Got it.
We used to have families, and
right.
especially
so if
in
your
the
mama
East,
came home from work,
yeah, it's like
you have been at your grandmama's house all afternoon. Y'all been watching the stories together and laughing and tee-hee-heeing, and she made you a snack and lunch, and y'all been talking, so you feel seen.
So if your mama don't have the energy after her
yeah
second shift, whatever, you don't feel completely ignored or neglected. Like you ate, somebody took care of you, had time. So just based on the way that we're shifting culture, that tends to put a lot of stress and pressure on those relationships in the way that they shouldn't be serving all of that at once.
Yeah.
So I'll go back and find out who that was, and if I find out who
again,
the
and that's a thing of an expectation.
Yeah,
people it's not. It doesn't make sense, but we all do it.
But it's
as
expectation.
People. We have an expectation that certain people are going to fulfill certain things in our lives, and they may do it. They may not be capable of doing it. They can do it sometimes, but not all the times. But so realizing that you have that expectation that's not being met, and understanding why you have it, where did it come from? Is it realistic? Are you putting too much pressure on yourself? Are you putting too much pressure on the other person? All of those things go into managing your expectations better so that your relationships can be better.
And not suffer. Yeah. So those are a few things to look at. But again, the biggest pitfall is the assumptions, right? That you can sometimes our assumptions often replace the level of communication that needs to actually be happening.
Yeah.
And I think, to your point, what I was going to say, when you're talking about expectations, a lot of that's media, right? A lot of that's, we talked about social media. We're not going to talk about it extensively today, but the idea that we're able to like sort of be voyeurs in other people's lives, right? Start to set a certain precedent, start to set a certain expectation. We've all been shaped by media culture, family expectations, like all of those things come into play. How your parents grew up, what you saw, now you expecting out of your relationship, or you don't want to repeat those patterns, so you working overtime, like all of those things come into play. But again, those assumptions that are going on all the time, a lot of times replace the open communication that needs to happen, because we just assume that these things are going to happen. We just assume that, your worst fears are going to come true, or assumptions don't leave room for you to have open, honest conversations with your partner, family members, co-workers, or anybody else that you're in a relationship with, honestly, because you've already started telling yourself a story narrative and you haven't given anybody the chance to interrupt it, right? You already reading the script, you done wrote the scene, and let them
do all the character breakdown.
Let them do one thing different, and you be like, wait, what? Or like, that's not it at all. Like, where did you even get that from? So don't let your traumas and your things and your script trip you up. So
I'm gonna jump in right there with something that we should talk about a little bit, and it's a therapeutic term, but when you're in therapy and you're trying to go back,
you on the back?
No, it just what it is. I'm just old. When you when you start to look back at your life, and they say that the therapists want you to look at your childhood and you're this and you're that or whatever. But part of that is because it's around the concept of what they call family of origin. What is your family of origin like? So if you grew up in a particular way in your family of origin, let's say your family of origin was very traditional. Your dad went to work, your mom stayed home, took care of the kids, took care of the family. She wasn't expected to work. She didn't work and all that. That's your family of origin. And that's kind of your expectation of what a family unit looks like. You grew up with a single mom. So you grew up with a single mom. 9 times out of 10, you had a lot more responsibility than somebody that grew up with 2 parents in a home.
And if you're the oldest sibling, and if you had younger siblings, exactly, it's definitely like the second parent.
So your dynamics and what you think is supposed to happen in a family is very different from somebody that grew up a different way. If you had, like we were just talking about, an extended family where your grandmother lived with you, and your auntie and this and that were up the street or whatever, you have a different concept of a family of origin. And so that's one of the things in premarital counseling that people who do premarital counseling well will have you dive into, is what was your family of origin like, and how does that compare to what your potential partner's family of origin was like, because that can be a big source of contention. Yeah.
And I think we usually talk about premarital counseling in like religious institutions or organizations, but I feel like everybody should do it. Like, I don't know why they don't offer it like regular. Just so like, if you don't
ready to get married,
I say, if you don't believe in nobody and nothing, okay, you should be doing it. Okay, it can save a lot of heartache, heartbreak, and money. Okay, it's very expensive to get divorced.
Yeah, an example of that is like if a guy grows up where his dad was the breadwinner and his dad provided all the money, his mom didn't work, and this, that, and the other. He might be feeling a lot of pressure and a lot of burden that he's not financially taking care of everything in the household, right? His wife may not have grown up like that. That might not even be
from a whole lot of
her
we
expectations.
Get the bread, we get the bag.
We hustle, we do this together, we this, that, and other. That might be her perspective, or vice versa. If the wife grew up in a house where the man did provide, and now her husband is coming with the, where's your half of the rent? Where's your the 50-50? That's going to be missed expectations, different expectations, unrealistic expectations. All of that all mixed up together is going to cause
conflict. You know why that happens? Because people are making assumptions that you know that already about that person.
Yeah.
Or to be like, if you never have a conversation about it, because people just be like, you cute, I'm cute, we cute together, right? And these are like, and that's what premarital like counseling or any kind of relational counseling will start to ask you these questions about stuff, to be like, so how do you feel about that? Or where did you grow? And you might not even know nothing about that, how that person.
You might not even realize that you have that expectation ingrained in you. Like, it's just so common for you. You know how you say you don't know what you don't know? You don't know that other people, that's the way I grew up. That's what I think it should be. I've never seen anything else. I don't know anything else. So, that can play out in a lot of different ways.
In a scenario you're saying for like a man who's feeling like pressure, right? Like in a traditional, gender role norms, which I think we're just so far removed from those things as a culture. Not that some people aren't doing it if it works for them, but like that is a like sign of manhood, right? Where for like the wife, she might be like, I don't care about that. You know what I mean? These are the markers of what I consider
what I need a man,
or what I need a man to be, instead of like these.
Especially if she's making more money than you anyway.
She don't care about that.
So she may or may not care about that. She may have grown up in a relationship where her dad was an emotionally abusive or neglectful or whatever. So for her, the most important thing is you paying her attention. You're an emotional support. You're treating her with a certain amount of dignity, respect, concern, care. Again, what are the expectations that each person has, and how do you get to the point where you're comfortable talking about them? You can talk about them. You can put it all out on the table.
And if your expectations are changing, like you might say that out loud of your mouth and be like, actually, I don't believe it.
I don't really believe.
Right. But if you don't give yourself, again, question the nature of your reality, a chance to think through these things, a chance to be like, well, somebody told me that, but I don't know if I really believe in that. Like you have permission and the opportunity to change your mind, to express yourself, and to figure out what you actually value, right? But if you're out here making assumptions, not expressing your expectations, and just really coasting through life thinking you already know what's in my mind and I ain't got to communicate.
Yep.
And not communicate once, communicate all the time, regularly, every day. Because you change from day to day, so does your partner, so does your kids, so does your boss, so does your coworker. So
does the situation that you're in.
Give that grace.
You may have decided this is going to work in this way for this season, but the situation may change. You know, somebody might get sick, somebody might lose their job, somebody might,
constant evolution.
Yeah, okay? Change is inevitable.
So change as the evolution continues. That's all we saying. Open your mouth, let your things be known, said, and understood. But if that's problematic,
but now that might be problematic for some people, which is what I was thinking and getting ready to say, is because it requires a certain level of emotional intelligence to have these kind of conversations. And a lot of people, I'm sorry, this is going to sound harsh, but I don't really mean it that way, are not proficient. I won't say you don't have emotional intelligence, but you are not
really teach.
You are not proficient. You haven't taken the time to develop it. You haven't taken the time to study it. Like you
might even not know what it is.
So
can you explain it for the people who are like,
so most
emotional intelligence?
Have a vague idea of emotional intelligence, but let's break it down a little bit.
Break it down.
It is the ability to recognize, manage your own emotions. So
your own self.
Your own.
We're not
self
talking
first.
About him and her and the kids and the
your
dog.
Your own self first.
Your own self. You're your first ministry.
All right. I'm an ability to recognize, manage your own emotions, as well as then,
That's after.
After you understand yourself. Now you can understand and respond to the emotions of others. And this is a crucial predictor of success in relationships, whether you're a student of it or not. If you meet people that just keep having bad relationships over and over again, over and over again, same person, different person, doesn't matter. You just cannot keep a good relationship going in any situations. You don't have good friends. You and your mama don't get along. You can't stand your sister, your cousins. You don't speak to none of your cousins. This, that, and the other way. You might want to check your emotional intelligence quotient, because there's some key components that go into that. And if you can't figure this out, I guarantee you some of the success of your life is going to be diminished. Let's just put it like that.
Diminished.
So there are three key components of emotional intelligence. There's self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness. So that's what we were just saying. You have to understand yourself first. That's self-awareness. That's the cornerstone of emotional intelligence, because you recognize your own thoughts, your own feelings, and your emotions. And then when you're self-aware, you can identify how your emotions impact your behavior. Okay. Now, then you don't achieve that once. It's something you got to work on all the time, right?
All the time.
You got to wake up, check your star player, as Cat Williams was saying, say, okay, am I functioning properly today?
Cat.
Is my mind on straight? Talk to God. Do your devotionals, do your whatever it is you got to do to get your emotions regulated within yourself for the day, so that you don't get up reacting crazy because you are unstable within your own self. You got that?
You don't have to pop out and show this every minute of the day.
Not all. Sometimes you got to pop out, but not all. All right? The more
big as a Super Bowl.
The more you practice it, the easier it becomes. Okay, so now you got self-awareness going. Now, self-regulation. So when you become aware, there's some things you just shouldn't do, or you should do. Regulation means I'm regulating my emotions. I'm not going off.
Regulator.
At the grocery store, when the man get in front of me, at the 7-Eleven, when they don't have the ice cream I like, or whatever.
I'm not a good self-regulator.
So self-regulation is the ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses and moods. When you see something is about to
stop,
disruptive. You heard that?
Yeah. Disruptive. If it's going to disrupt, it might be disrupting your piece, but what we mean is disruptive to others. Okay.
You too.
But I'm just saying,
your own.
I mean, like if you start throwing stuff in the store or you start getting loud
or at your house,
just
whatever. It's like disruptive. Take a step back, think before you act.
Impulses.
Try to manage your emotions in the moment and ask yourself, why am I doing this? But again, these are building blocks, because if you're not self-aware, you're not going to be able to do this. It's always going to be somebody else's fault. It's always going to be, they made me. You ever heard people say, they just made me. They made me. I was doing it. They made me. They made me. Yeah. So if you are not able to see yourself first, be aware of what's going on in your own emotions, then you will have a problem self-regulating.
No problem.
Now, if you can do this, then you can take responsibility for your actions. You can apologize when you need to. Let me tell you something.
Take that apology language test. Take that apology test.
Apologize cannot self-regulate. If you don't know how to apologize, if you can't do that, then you're not self-regulating, because you ain't always right. Okay. So you have to get to the point where you can look at yourself, self-regulate, and say, you know what, perhaps I should have handled this in a different way. And so then you're able to take responsibility for what you did, make amends if you need to, make level, clear-headed decisions ahead of time. And then if you make a mistake once, don't keep going back, making it over and over again. Like, look at it, analyze it. And to improve your self-regulation, focus on taking care of yourself physically. A lot of y'all can't self-regulate because you're tired. I'm preaching to myself.
Irritability.
You cannot self-regulate because you're tired, you're irritable, you don't get things done the way you thought you were going to get them done, you procrastinate, you do all these things,
that's
and then
lack of flexibility, but
you start beating yourself up. So now,
which is again self-awareness, because if you can internally regulate yourself to stop beating yourself up, which I do often, like I'm in an active practice of being like, okay, we can look at that and assess it without getting down on ourselves to the point where we're depressed and we hate ourselves and we feel like we did such a terrible job, instead of being like, okay, we did these things good, we learned these lessons, right? I learned a lot of lessons on this shoot, right? But as I was analyzing it, I started to get down on myself, and I was like, that's not really the point of what we're trying to do. Like, that part of me was like, yeah, you're so terrible and this happened and that happened, it's because of you, instead of being like, nah, bro, there's a lot of factors to this and we all learned a lot of things, but like, how can I look at this, assess this, be aware? There were some things I did apologize for, but like, I didn't need to be beating myself up about it to do it.
Very self-aware.
But I had to be self-aware.
Very good lesson in self-regulation. I was very proud of you for that too this weekend.
Oh, thanks. I did what I could.
I know how
you know how I could spiral.
You can go down a rabbit hole of like, I'm the worst. Oh, why did I do that? Oh my God. Oh. So I watched you start to go, and then I watched you pull yourself out. So that was really good.
I'm a work in progress.
Yes, indeed. And then the third component is social awareness. So now that you know yourself, you know what you can do, you know how your emotions go, you know if you're tired, it goes this way. If it goes that way, you self-regulate it. You'd be like, you know what? I can't really do that right now. I didn't get enough rest. I'm too irritable. I didn't eat. I'm hangry. I'm all the things. If you can self-regulate, and so that you know what's going on in your emotions, now you become more socially aware of the other people around you. And two things: how your actions and your emotions are impacting them. And then also, you're able to discern and look at other people and see what they got going on with that person that really is not.
I do it all the time. I'd be
like, this ain't got nothing to do with me, really. You can take the social cues. You can know, you can look at other people's perspective.
You know when it ain't got nothing to do with you.
You can know that I better not say that because they already in a way
on 12.
On 12. I don't know why they on 12. It's not. I'm not taking it on. It's nothing to do with me. But you show genuine concern for the feelings of others, and you don't want to heap more on a person than they are capable of at a particular time. You know. So, and it's also about understanding that not everybody feels the same way that you do. Because again, back to that family of origin, back to your perspectives, back to what you grew up with, back to what you know, how you function in the world. You need to be able to listen to other people's opinions and think about other people's perspectives and what could be causing this person to do that. Like, I remember when you were in school and younger in elementary school, you would come home and tell me about somebody being crazy at school. I would always try to get you to imagine what might be going on with that person.
That's true. It's a practice in empathy.
Yeah.
Which I still do like, to this day, where I just be like, okay, I'm mad at that person, or like they really wild out, but I'm like, well, let me put this in context.
Yeah, let me see if I can figure out.
Yeah, I know about them or what I think might be going on. And sometimes that will lead to like conversations I would have with people, and they would be like, oh my God, I didn't think anybody saw that about me, or man, I really am super stressed. Like, I'm sorry. And they will be like, I'm so sorry. Like, I understand I'm treating you like this because I'm dealing with this. And then that opens up a space for dialogue.
And you did in high school, I remember you were in that conflict resolution class.
I was a peer counselor.
Which I think gave you some additional skills to be able to look at people and be able to kind of move in and out of situations and go.
And the Holy Spirit will always put you on game as well.
Always.
Speaking of which, okay, we got to take a short commercial break. If y'all ain't seen The Deliverance, okay, now, granted, I have a very strict, I don't do Beelzebub's rule. I don't talk to them, kick it with a skate with them, nothing. They're not allowed to talk to me. It's in my ironclad contract with Jesus, okay? So I wasn't going to do this. But I like Andra Day. I like Anjanou Ellis.
And I want to see
Glenn, LaQuisha Close.
Take a step into the other side.
We love Monique, okay? We love Caleb and the little girl from King Richard and this new baby. It was just all the people in it, okay? Lee Daniels, he's a little hit and miss for me, but he would always speak to me on a lot when I worked at the Gower Studio. So shout out to him. He's not always my favorite storyteller, but I gave it a chance, okay? And the movie itself, I give it a 5 out of 10. There was some holes in the plot. The script was a little all over the place. I was a little confused. I would like to see a documentary about this person in this actual house.
Yeah, because it was based on
a true story, okay?
But a person whose house was demon possessed
in Pennsylvania. But the cast out was correct. Shout out to Anjanou, Andra Day, whoever, okay? Made sure the cast out.
They've been to a deliverance session before.
Correct. They had the oils, they had the Jesus, they had the actual scriptures.
The right scriptures.
Now, you know how niggas be making up the real, actual, factual scriptures. Quotables, okay? They didn't have the addresses, but the real words, okay?
Word for word.
And they had the Holy Spirit. Tongues was spoken, okay? The lake of fire presented itself.
I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. All the things.
Things had to go back to the pit, the fiery pits of hell. So for that, I say.
And for that, I say thank you.
If you watch the movie, you know where that comes from.
For that, I say
Glenn Close has said and done some things I never thought Glenn Close would say or do, but that's neither here nor there.
Enjoy it. It's a good time.
And shout out to Monique. She did a great job. But back to our regularly scheduled program.
So listen, on the emotional intelligence is something we believe strongly in. On the 89 episodes that we have done so far to date of this podcast, if you scroll through our channel, you will definitely find some episodes on how to regulate your emotions, active listening,
your core values,
what to do, how to identify your core values, how to manage. You'll find something that will help you understand this concept a little bit better. So we're not going to go deep. But all of this is really, really critical to cultivating an atmosphere of support and safety in your relationships, where people feel like, you know what? They're not going to go off on me for no reason.
Correct.
They're going to try and listen to what I'm saying. They're going to try and understand it. We're going to have an intelligent conversation about it. Ideally. And I am going to share my heartfelt emotions. The other person is going to share theirs. I'm going to listen. Nobody's trying to win. We're just trying to come to the meeting of the minds and understand.
And as a person who, I used to say self-awareness is my superpower, I still believe that. Usually at my friend group, like I'm very self-aware. I'm usually pretty emotionally regulated. And then I try to incorporate that in my social awareness. So usually if I'm going off on you, you done effed up somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like it ain't.
And you've been effing up a long time.
Usually not, you know what I mean? Like you've earned me going off at this point, right? It's not like my fuse isn't super short. So it's usually like, or you try to sneak something in and did think that I I didn't hear you or see you, but I'm letting you know that I did. And I'm coming to you in love. I might cuss you out, but we could talk about it afterwards if that's how you feel. Because some people, and it's not even like, because I do cuss a lot, but it's not because like I just want to be disrespectful to you. To quote the great Miss Hill, and even after all my logic and my theory, I add a mother so you ignorant can hear me.
Just like Kamala did the other night.
She did. She did. The former president.
The former president. That's code.
Every Black woman's. Yes, we heard what you said. But anyway, I say that to say some people, that's the language they understand. It's like you got to check them hard. That's part of my self-awareness for you, not for me. I got to check you hard in self-awareness to let you know I saw what you did. I am intentionally letting the pressure off of my self-regulator just a little bit, because I can tell you new in this space and you don't know what's up. So let me pump the brakes on you. You know in the self-awareness space. Because if you were self-aware, you wouldn't have said or did what you said or did.
You are new in this space. I love that.
But since you're new here, I had to pop off a little bit, but then we can talk about it afterwards. It's not like I hate you. I want you to die. None of that. We can't be cool. But sometimes you got to press. You got to press a nigga. That's what I'm going to say. So
you got to help.
The tactics.
Got to help him. The
tactics might need to change, but the intent should be self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness. But the tactics might change. That being said, once you learn all these core intellectual
and these are just
skills,
basic. I mean, we can drill. Go back. We have drill.
If you want to hear about it, let us know. But once you have all these skills, that will help you while you set more realistic expectations. Okay, because now you are clear with yourself, your God, and the ancestors about what you want and need. Therefore, you can now tell other people. Okay. Get more realistic, okay, so that we can have further communication. So one of the key things that emotional intelligence will do, as I've said, is help you set these expectations. Realistic. I just feel like I have to point that out because, and also all of realistic doesn't mean what it used to mean. I'll put it like that, okay? Everybody is in a different universe. So all of your previous experiences, your perspectives, your values, sometimes your baggage, okay, influence are your expectations of your partners, your family of origin, as we've talked about. So it's just, they're going to differ, okay? They're going to be as individual as we are as people, okay? And they're going to have an effect on your relationship currently, okay? It's not just romantic relationships, it's all your relationships across the board, right? Like, I don't have any kids. I have my nieces and nephews. When I have kids, some of my expectations about how kids act is probably going to be based on how I've seen my sister be with my nieces and nephews, or some of the other kids that I've, had the privilege of babysitting and taking care of and helping in their growth and development. I can't bring all that to whoever I'm going to be birthing because they're going to not be them people. You know what I'm saying? So I can't be like, well, why are you not like Navia? I'm like, because it's not Navia, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you not more like Brooklyn? Like, because it's not Brooklyn. So, but all of those things really, like, they would be factored into how I would parent, right? Because I only watch a certain set of kids. That's how I put it like that. If some of y'all are watching this, y'all like, Jess ain't never watched my kids. There might be a reason for that. Not always. You might not ask me, but there might be a reason for that. Okay. But anyway,
you have high standards and realistic ones about everything.
I will not drop them down.
Everything.
I will not drop them down. Huh? Anyway, so if you can learn how to balance your high expectations with realistic ones, okay, and that goes across the board. Some of y'all, your little lists, it's good to have them, but some of it is way too high. I'm not telling you to settle, but I'm just saying you might want to contemplate. So anyway,
I've heard some of y'all. If he come and he don't do this and he don't do that and he don't do this and I'd be like, I just be sitting there racking, going, okay, well, we'll see how this is gonna turn out.
But maybe God will do a miracle in your stead.
I believe in God for you and with you.
But okay, so most of the time, your high expectations cause some problems, okay? Because I don't know that you are communicating those. And let me be real, some of y'all are communicating them very loudly, very strongly, very proudly.
And that's why the people leave.
But because they said, oh, I'm not doing all that. which could be God's protection, or it could be you doing too much. So it just depends. Just
Get self-aware.
Keep
Get
fishing.
self-aware.
Self-regulate. Get you some
Mhm.
social awareness. Maybe get your little therapist. Get your little relational therapist. Whatever. We're not trying to tell you how to live your life. We're just saying it could be a thing. So you can have standards. We're not telling you to. That's especially Black women. They be like, "So you trying to tell me I can't have standards?" I'm like, nobody said that. But you also need to know what some of those things are unattainable because you're expecting a certain level of perfection. And I always tell people though, like, you got to think about it like, if you're holding someone else to a standard, are you holding yourself to that same standard?
Yes, indeed.
If you out here talking about he got to have 6 packs, and this, that, and third, girl, do you? I'll leave that there. You know, if you out here
He
talking
gotta have
about
this much money in the bank and a credit score of this and a
do
that
you?
and a this and a thing and whatever.
And you might, and that's cool. Like, you know what I mean? The expectations of your kids, it's like, maybe that person's kid has a private tutor. Why are you expecting your kid to be doing the same thing that this private tutor kid is doing?
Maybe
It's
your
just,
kid just don't like basketball. Maybe
Stop
your
trying
kid
to live
just
through
don't
them.
like football.
stop trying to live through it.
It just let it go.
So it just depends. So how do we set realistic expectations? Okay, talk to your therapist, talk to your mama, talk to God. Okay, you can talk to us in the comments, but I don't know if we'll respond because some of y'all want to argue and cry about this, but we just say what we say. Okay, but this is what it looks like to set realistic expectations. Okay, reflect on what's informing your expectations. This is where you do that. Go back to your childhood, family origin work. Why do you expect that? Some of y'all are expecting that because you didn't grow up with it, so you think that's what you should have. But that might not be the case. I'm sorry. I apologize for what you didn't get. I think it sucks. I think it's sad. I think it's terrible.
Ooh,
But
Jermaine
also,
asked me that the other week. He was like, "Why do you expect that?"
why do you expect that?
And I was
And
like,
you probably
huh?
never thought about it. You're like, what do you
I
mean?
never thought about it until he said that, and now I've been. Hence, why we're talking about expectations. I've been musing on it and thinking about it, and like, okay, this is important.
So once you reflect, you might be like, that is very unrealistic and very crazy. It could not be, but give yourself the option to question the nature of your reality.
Mhm.
2, communicate openly about the differences in your expectations, particularly in your relationships, right?
Do we want to tell our story from
This is
yesterday?
I mean, I wouldn't take this, but so far with the kids of a certain age, you know, if you got high schoolers, you know what I mean, middle schoolers, the dynamic shit. Your elementary school kid, it depends on your parenting. You gentle parenters do your thing, but you know, there may be some differences in the expectations.
Quick story. We were having a conversation yesterday because we're going out of town next week.
We were deep in our therapist's office. We are actively working on our relationship in this season. So
very active.
We'll tell you about it when we get to the
When we
other
get to-
side. But
yeah.
sometimes you can't talk. You can't give your testimony in the middle of the process. But
Mm-mm.
go ahead.
But this particular story, we're traveling next week and we're going to a city where we are not going to have a car because we're going to a wedding and a lot of things are going to be, you know, on a bus.
It isn't the great state of Texas, but
So
that's all I'm saying.
My thing, the way my expectation is we should check the airport and see what options are available for us to get from there.
All the options possible.
All the options.
Because
to
she
get
calls that
from-
being efficient.
From our hotel,
Which some of y'all might agree. I'm not.
from the airport to our hotel. So I want to know if there's a shuttle. I want to know, does the hotel have a shuttle? I want to know if they have a train. I want to know if they have a bus.
What's the first thing y'all are saying?
Call Uber.
Nigga, there's Uber. What are you talking about?
Her expectation is, why are you going through all that? Let's just call the Uber. But we would have had a fight about this had we not talked about it.
That's because she don't listen to me.
In therapy yesterday. So
our therapist is our translator because we communicate differently. This is what we be trying to tell you all the time. We are both intelligent. We can express ourselves well, but sometimes when she be talking, I don't get it. Sometimes when I be talking, she don't get it. So our therapist, because he knows us both and he been seeing us for so long and he knows us, he could be like, Miss Pam, she's trying to say this. Jess, she's trying to say this. Oh.
So that's what happened to us yesterday. So now I'm going to look up the other things because that will make me happy and that's my expectation.
That will make her feel better.
But I can't.
But she wanted me to do it.
I wanted her to do it and she was thinking that was ridiculous. So she would have probably not done it. And then we would have gotten to the airport.
No, I would have done it. She would have nagged me into doing it. But
yes, but then you would have had attitude. But now we don't have that. I I'm not expecting her to do it. My expectation has been properly managed. I'm not expecting her to do it. I will do it because it's important to me.
It'll make you feel better.
Yes.
You deserve to feel better.
And if we find a mutually agreed upon alternative to Uber, then yes, but I will feel better knowing that we explored the options. But do you see how that's a difference in what your expectations are in a situation based on
Everybody can be like, just take the Uber.
My family of origin, my this, my that, my values, my perspectives, whatever. I'm like, okay, if it's going to cost us $75 for an Uber, but we can get there for $20 on something else or a shuttle or
but
whatever.
For me, the convenience of the Uber is worth the money.
But for me, saving $55 means we can have more options at dinner the next night.
Bougie. I'll do what I got to do. So there we go. So
that's
anyway,
just a good example for you.
Reflect on what informs your expectations. Communicate openly about differences in expectations. That's an example. Be realistic about expectations that may be more challenging to meet. Okay, so that one we just described was a quick one. There could be some other ones.
Yeah.
That need.
But the process is the same.
Assistance. But the process is the same.
The process is the same. Of what are you expecting? What am I expecting? Why are you expecting that? What's your why? The reason I don't want to spend $75 is if I don't have.
I don't want to spend $75, but
is that we could use that money for something else.
If we gotta lug stuff through the airport,
exactly.
She is not in the space to do that. So who gonna be lugging the stuff through the airport? This. Okay. So these are the things she don't think about. Because to me, I'm thinking
the airport. I'm gonna get the wheelchair people.
Whatever. Okay. Convenience over efficiency. Mm-hmm. Sometimes she want efficiency over convenience. Why? You old. Don't she say every episode? She old, but she still want to do non-old things. Anyway, hopefully you can see by now why emotional intelligence is important. Having it to be able to do this. Okay. Yeah. Next up, quickly, communicating needs and desires. Okay. So once you have more realistic expectations, then how are you going to communicate them? Right. We've talked about this already. It's completely unrealistic to assume that your partner is going to know your needs.
Your partner, your child, your mom, your whoever, they can't read your mind.
All your needs and your wants. And again, I would urge that if you're putting that much emphasis on that relationship, just that one, you need to further build your community out so that you don't feel that pressure and your partner doesn't feel that pressure.
You have other sounding boards.
That pressure. You have other people. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's really crucial to express yourself openly and honestly. Okay. Because like we said, that is where the misunderstandings and the conflicts, that don't even got to be at the top of the problems list. If you would just communicate, then you'll have less problems. Okay. But the way to do that, because there's a way, some of y'all like, cool, bet. I'm finna say like, whoa. Time out. Get the steps before you dive in. Okay. Number one, use I statements. Okay. We had to do this in therapy yesterday. To express yourself without implying blame. Okay. I feel that, or I use, in my opinion. Okay. I feel that in my opinion, not you do.
You always and every time, the problem, and whenever
you are already accusatory. Okay.
Can't do it.
2, choose a calm, quiet time for discussion. There's a reason we do things in therapy. Why? Because it's quiet and calm. It was not quiet and calm yesterday because
it was good though.
I was cussing and expressing myself and being loud. I'm sure the white people was disturbed, but they'll be fine. Anyway, but yes, choose a calm, quiet time for discussions. Don't do it in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, we were in the therapist's office yesterday.
So we always talk about like if you get heated, pause, come back to it at a different time so you don't say something that you regret.
And honestly, you might need a mediator. There's some conversations we already know we cannot have.
It's not
we just cannot. Love each other dearly. My road dog, ride or die, whatever. We all know that.
We are in the evolutionary stage of our relationship. We
know that we need to have some conversations in the therapist's office and not here in this house. That's what we do.
3, be honest and gentle in your approach. Okay. We're not always great at that, but that's why we have Tremaine Walker. Dr. Tremaine Walker. Okay. And you got options, Dr. Tremaine Walker, Dr. Jason Plunkett, who's doing a great series about self-awareness. So please, I was looking for his banner, but I don't think we have it on here anymore. But Jason Plunkett, if you follow him on IG, he's doing some stuff. So
about self-awareness,
about
this very
self-awareness.
stuff we're talking about.
Tiffany Shanks, Farrah Misery. I think I might have got it right. I struggle. So we have Black people with
But again,
degrees.
these are therapists we've had on episodes previously.
Yes.
So if you scroll through our
So
channel,
you need help,
you will find the episode with the therapist on them, Dr. Nina, different
Dr.
therapists.
Nina, thank you. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm getting somebody.
So we have at least 5 therapists on our channel that you can go and watch their episodes and see if you click with them, if you like the way they talk, how they flow, whatever, and reach out to them on your own and connect with them.
And they will help you. Use I statements, have a calm and quiet place for the discussion, be honest and gentle to your approach. And number 4, listen actively to your partner's response. That's really what therapy is good for. To be like, did you hear what they just said? How did you interpret that? And they can correct you where you need to be corrected. Okay. So good communication involves both speaking and listening. Speaking and listening. A lot of y'all want to speak, but y'all don't want to listen. Okay.
Speak.
I also recommend talking sticks or talking rocks or something that's going to be like, when this is in my hands, I'm speaking. You can't speak because that helps you listen. Then when you get it, then you get to speak and I listen. Okay?
Or you can mute the mic like they did on this.
Anyway, by improving your communication skills and your intimate relationships, you're really honing a skill that can really help the entire world. Okay. We know the world needs a lot of help. Okay. Because socially, we could all listen more and speak less. And some of us could speak better. I was about to say speak less, and listen better. So it's all relative. Okay. This is a skill that translates to all parts of life. And there's a lot we can go into about conversational intelligence. Pammy is certified in conversational intelligence. We'll talk about if you want to be a client and all that at a different time. But those are just some things to keep in mind. Okay.
All right. Hardest thing is going to be to adapt to change. Because
Always.
for some of y'all, all of this is sounding like,
not even y'all.
Oh no, I don't want to do that. That's going to be hard. I don't roll like that. I don't get down like that. So that's the elephant in the room. Relationships are not static. They are not going to stay the same.
I know y'all want them to be. They're not.
Life is
They're not Instagram pictures and
change.
Instagram videos.
You're going to have transitions. People going to get older. They're going to come. They're going to go. People going to change their needs and their values, what's important to them at a particular time in their life.
Big facts.
All of that is just going to change. And so you have to, that's why we said this is not a one and done thing. You have to regularly revisit these conversations about expectations.
Regularly.
Because you can say, well, I thought you said that so-and-so and such and such and such. Yeah, I said that 25 years ago. But now.
I was going to say 5.
No, I'm trauma. I'm talking. I said that 25 years ago. Not now. Not in this stage and season of my life. I have a different need. I have a different expectation.
And can I say this while we're here? I think also what we're talking about is the stagnation piece of relationships is because people don't stay curious about each other. I feel like I hear people say that a lot. I be listening to y'all with y'all relationship things. But that's like one of the things, especially all lovers and friends that Shannon always talks about, is like you have to stay curious and interested in your partner, your kid, you always growing and changing every day and relearning yourself. So to have the expectation that the person from 5 years ago is going to be the same 10 years later is just like, it's just a ridiculous, that's a unrealistic expectation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think like staying curious about the person sitting in front of you, just like you want that person to continue to be curious in you, will help with the stagnation piece. But continue.
Good. Be open to adjusting the relationship when it evolves. So don't say, well, I know you changed, but I ain't changing. That's the way I always am. That's the way I always been. I'm stay. No. Be open to the change, the evolution, and then seek compromise when you just can't make the expectations met. Like the Uber. She don't care about the shuttle bus.
I really don't.
I do care. So I'm going to
shout out to Beyonce.
I'm a compromise. We're going to compromise. I'm gonna look it up, find out. She gonna be ready to pay the Uber, and then
that's it.
That's how we're gonna compromise.
That's that.
Yeah. So during transition periods, we're going to a wedding. I know they've been through a lot of conversations or whatever. They've been dating for a
over a
long
decade.
time. So I know that they've had
long
some
distance over a decade.
interesting conversations. They had to manage some expectations to get from where they were 10 or 12 years ago in college to next week when they get married, having children, career changes, moving from one side of the country to another. Communication around your expectations are really even more and more critical. So
especially in the transition time, because you're changing and that person is changing. So you can't expect
everything around y'all is changing. So that's really when it's important to have those conversations. It helps to preserve a sense of stability when
it's going crazy.
You in the whirlwind. And so you want to have that stability, and you want to be able to trust and rely on the person that you're navigating the stressful situations with. And when you get in the stressful situation is not the time to start practicing these skills. You should be trying to practice it in the good times. In the low. When the
everything's so good. Everything's so good.
So practice then, so that when it gets to be stressful,
do low stake things. So as the stakes start increasing, why do we rehearse? Shout out to Dr. Lee, played by Orlando Brown in Drumline. If you rehearse, then when you on stage, you won't forget your lines, your blocking, all the things.
So our very, very first podcast episodes back in January 2023 were about change.
All about the change.
So go back, look at that. That'll help you some.
When in doubt, I'm gonna say this: overly communicate. I feel like no one's gonna be mad about you for overly communicating. Now,
some people will.
You should. I was gonna say you should keep the communication concise, and you could do that when you're self-aware, right? Work all that stuff out in your own head. Maybe talk to
journal, right? Maybe make an outline.
Maybe talk to another friend about it. Keep it concise, because some people don't like all the talking. If you could take a big idea and get it down to about 2 to 3 sentences, people can process that. But if you I just want to talk, that might not be everybody's ministry,
because they're gonna tune out. They're gonna stop listening to you.
Do your self-awareness, engage in your community, and then come and talk
and ask questions. Like not just random questions, but about what you're saying. Like you need to make sure that the other person kind of understands what you're saying. So
don't just talk.
Just say
listen in and speak it.
Like conversationally intelligent. Say, you know what? This is what I think I heard you say. This is what I understood you to say. Is that what you really meant? Give the person a chance to give you some feedback. Don't just be having a monologue
and then if you need help, get some help. Okay. It's real.
So again, it's not about having no expectations
or dropping your standards
or whatever, but it's having realistic expectations so you can have a satisfying relationship, a healthier relationship.
Big facts.
Be generationally well. We want you to be well, and cultivate the way you communicate, the way you explain your expectations, so that the people that you're in relationship with, you guys can grow and thrive together.
Okay, a few additional benefits of why gaining emotional intelligence in relationships is super important. Okay, because it also helps you identify the subtle changes in your relationship dynamics, right? Because as you're adjusting, right, to be more self-aware, be more self-regulated, be more socially aware, you're going to change. The other people around you are going to change, right? And things are going to change relationally in the dynamics. So you need to be tracking that. And then once you are seeing those things, that helps you to be more proactive in responding to the needs and emotions of your partner, which hopefully will foster deeper connections, right? In ways to help you further improve on that, right? Learning to read people's emotional states, right? It's very effective. And you usually do that through people's body language. So if you communicate it and you start to see the glaze over, or somebody getting mad,
or this right here,
just start to read the body cues. So, right. And then in your self-awareness, go, and they just tuned out, or this is really frustrating this person, or they get more and more mad, or they're crying now. So let's just table this for now and do it at another time. Okay. Learning to openly share your feelings before you add a conflict, right? How can you start to have the conversation before it turns into a full-on blow up and you got to call the homies or your cousins or
y'all got to have an intervention
them or whatever. You know what I mean? There may be some conversations and steps in between. We talk about it all the time. Maintain the journal. Get you a little journal. Write your little feelings down. You might not need to talk to nobody else. It just need to be
you and
Jesus in a journal. Okay. Guiding conversations toward positive outcomes. Don't start at a negative thinking you're going to get to a positive. Just try to start like, hey, I have some things I wanted to come to you about. I'm really hoping that we could like get this, resolved because I feel like we've been having a little friction and I don't want that because I really respect you or I look up to you or like I want us to be cool. Like, how can we blah, blah, blah.
I love you, whatever.
Take the breaks. Okay. If it's big emotions, explosive, loud, angry, yelling sounds, if it's tears, if it's anything that is not emotionally regulated, okay, especially if it gets explosive and people can't pull it back, just take a break. Let people regain their composure, come back at a different time. Learn to express anger constructively and kindly. Now, you really need a therapist for this. Black people is not good at this. We are not, our ancestors were not
I don't think a lot of people are good at it, but particularly us.
Black people. We not, the words express anger constructively and kindly.
It sounds like an oxymoron.
Like that Zach Galifianakis meme where all the math be going around. Okay, but it is possible. We're not gonna get into it deeply, but maybe we'll have a therapist come and talk about it one day. Because I'm sure that can help. Because shout out to Adrian and Roger Melvin, who is a couple that was like, there's a right way to argue, and you can argue well without completely offending somebody or shattering your whole relationship.
Or breaking that person's soul. You won't break my soul.
Which, we're not very skilled at as a people.
Yeah, so you want to have the conversation without soul breaking.
I hope that we have made the case to you of why emotional intelligence really plays a crucial role in everything, honestly, but specifically managing your expectations, building stronger relationships, helping to debunk your assumptions, helping to create more realistic expectations, giving you the ability to develop self-awareness, self-regulation, and social awareness so that you can better navigate your conflicts, okay? Get your trust levels up, and just overall have a more enhanced, better relational experience across the board. We are relational creatures, contrary to popular belief. It makes no one go, ugh, more than me, but it's true. And I'm very happy with my relationships at this point, even though we are actively trudging through mud and trenches, sludge and grudge to work on this one, but it's going to be worth it in the end. Yeah, it's all about the journey. Okay, the journey, as Gabby Wilson.
I don't think mothers and daughters ebb and flow. You know what I mean?
For sure, there's so many stages of life, hormonal changes.
Like we said at the opening, being a woman, raising a woman, it's like
and I'm sure men go through the same thing, but it's a lot.
We know what we know.
We know what we know. But emotional intelligence really has significant impact on your ability to communicate effectively with yourself first, okay, and then trickle out to the others. And it helps you adapt to change and find the win-win solutions when you're in some challenging situations. So I hope at this point you are Googling some books from the Amazon, getting you some audibles. That's my life, okay? To get your EQ, not just your IQ. Your IQ for your brain, EQ for your emotion, your emotional intelligence quota up, okay? So we hope we've been helpful. We know we've been before you a little long, but this was important. Like, we really have to get this out because I feel like it's gonna help somebody this week. Like, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I was really about to burn fire on it," and then I was like, emotional intelligence. So we're gonna keep talking about expectations next week. I don't remember how many more Thursdays we have, but
we have 2 more.
We're gonna take the show on the road, people. Okay, by this time next week, we will be in Texas. So, God willing, we have good lighting and the sound is right or whatever, but y'all love it here. You'll bear with us anyway. But we just saying, sometimes the internet, you remember what happened last time, a couple of the interviews dropped, but it'll be fine in the edit. So anyway, whatever we're doing and wherever we will be, you will not know that. If you are not subscribed on the YouTube channel, follow us on IG, Facebook, fan base. We're at Career Generational Wellness on all the things. We have been not posting, but that's because we're getting ready to enter a marketing season for this here podcast. So we just want you to stay in the know, okay? Because I don't like to do things halfway, and I don't like to double back if I don't have to. So I was like, we'll get to it. Just follow us so you know what's going on. It's a lot of things coming in the new year. So yeah, just stay tuned. We love y'all. Why are you nodding your head weird?
No, I was like, yeah, there are a lot of things coming. I'm excited.
That's that 50s. Yeah, okay. Anyway, good night.
She doesn't
We'll
mean
see y'all
50
next
years
week.
old. She means the
1950s.
1950s. Whatever.
Anyway, politics and things.
All right.
General feminine politeness. Anyway, we'll see y'all next week. Have a good one. Bye.
Love ya. Bye.
Bye. Bye.